Hey there, Impact Zone fam! We're back here again to talk more TNA wrestling shenanigans, and I kind of want to talk about this emerging from the pack kind of thing, where it's like you can always have this, where it's like who's gonna emerge, who's gonna break out, sort of idea of storyline or storytelling. And I've sort of said this before, where I've been saying, every time it's like we need to push new young guys, see what we can get out of them, blah 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 blah, that sort of thing. This is the way of wrestling. You always need to push the new guys. You always need fresh talent in there, because again, even if you're saying, well, they're not going to be the champion or whatever else it is, that doesn't matter. Sometimes you just need more people in each different scene and in each different position to be like, okay, cool, they're getting their opportunity, they're gonna, get a bit more like buzz about them or whatever else it is, and then, are they gonna catch fire? Aren't they? We're gonna see, so you always got that potential for anyone and everyone, where it's like, yeah, we need to be building these people. We can't just be sitting them there and saying, okay, you do you, and we'll get back to you in whenever or whatever. That's where I was like upset with some of these people who have left, who I felt like, oh, they could have been up there, or could have been like one of the mainstays or whatever else it was, and things like that. It's like, well, at a certain point, like, I can understand, because it's like, hey, it's, and especially for those people who it is like, oh, well, I've seen like people like Leon or other people like that come in, and they basically get their thing that's building them up within the first like 6 months, and it's like, oh, is this really building me up, or what's this doing, or where's this going, or that sort of thing. It's always that sort of thing of like, like when wrestlers leave, it's always either cash or creative, you know what I mean? So if the creative hasn't got something for you, at least, it's like, well, what am I doing here? Like, I can go somewhere else, probably make the same amount of money, and hopefully they'll have better creative for me, like that's where I've got to be at. I've got to be like saying, well, if you're not like doing something significant with me, then what am I doing here? So that's the thing. Everyone's got to have something significant to work with, like you can't just have one or two guys in each division being like, yeah, this division is full of ghosts, effectively. There's basically one guy here and that's it, or one other guy here and that's it. So it's like, well, what are those, two sticks gonna do? That's it. You're going to have a lot of the same stuff between them, and having a story between two people that's elongated over a year or even longer perhaps isn't bad. But it's like, well, if there's nothing else there, then it's like, yeah, again, why else am I paying attention to this? We need more people in those divisions, so that it's like, okay, cool, great, what are we doing here with these guys? And obviously I'm talking more about the main event scene, but again, it's one of those things of saying you've got to have the guys that you have currently, you know what I mean? And they've got to be concurrent currently, if you know what I mean. So you can't just, yes, you have to phase people out, but you can't just phase people out like at the drop of a hat. It doesn't work like that, you know what I mean? So if you've got guys like Eddie Edwards and EY and guys like that are, and Moose and other guys like that are sort of bona fide main event level guys that you've already basically made, it's like, okay, cool. Well, they can, be there and be here, and we can utilize them to help other guys get over. And yes, we still need to keep them, solid and strong or whatever. Because again, if you, dwindle them down too much, it becomes like, well, no one can believe in anything they do, because they don't win ever. They don't have, or when they win, it's only a token win or whatever, or it's only a couple of token wins or whatever. So again, people can't believe in something if you're just like, here's 2 token wins or a token win or whatever, people have got to be like, holy shit, you know, again, this person's been on a tear for 6 months, whatever it's been, you know, and here they come, you know. You can look at Leon like that. You can be like, oh yeah, he's been on a tear for a while, but like, again, in his division, he's got no one to face. So it's like, at a certain point, you've got to say, well, let's move him out of there. But then it's like a tough thing to do that, because it's like, well, if we move him out of there, then we've basically got no one in that division, you know, besides Cedric and besides, what's his name, Jason Hotch. And like, Hotch is more of a tag team guy, and even then he doesn't get like much time on TV apart from being like an underling in Order 4. So it's like, again, you know, where's the time for some of those guys to get like a little bit of the spotlight, and to get like, okay, Leon's already got a lot of the spotlight and he deserves more, obviously, in many ways. But again, you've got other guys that are there, and you need to give them some of the spotlight too, because again, if you're not going to say, what are we going to do next? Or going to turn around and say, what are we going to do next? And then realize, oh shit, yeah, we don't have anyone in this division, and we haven't built anyone up, or we don't believe in anyone that is in this division. Like, I mean, the tag team scene is pretty decent for the most part. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think the women's tag team scene is pretty lacking. But I think, like, I won't count the international title, because I don't really think that's going anywhere. And like, again, it's just this ancillary title that I don't think we really want or need. But yeah, again, like, you know, like AJ Francis, he, like, I could point to a lot of people that are in the upper card space. Macklin, they haven't really got enough time in there. I really still want to see like the end of like a definitive finish between Santana and Macklin. But at this point, it is like, well, Macklin, Santana, and even AJ, who hasn't even got the title yet, are like, they're already superstars in some regards. Yes, you know, like, they haven't really put enough time and energy into AJ or even Macklin or a bunch of other people as well. But again, like, they've still got that aura about them. They've still got something about them that people will, you know, pay to see them or whatever. They're still a draw in a lot of senses, so you can still utilize them in that sense, and they're still a person that you can utilize to help build other people, you know, which is a little bit, you know, like, unintuitive in some ways, because again, it is tough to say, hey, we're going to move on from you, you've only just got here, you know, sort of thing. But that's how it kind of is. Everything moves on very quickly, because again, you need something else, and you need to say, okay, cool, if Santana's our guy, or whoever, it doesn't bloody matter, whoever's our seller, whoever's the people coming to see, right, well, we need to build around that. So again, you need to say, okay, Santana has got to cool off for a few months, 6 months, whatever else it is, not be the champion, just be in the chase or whatever else it is, and then maybe he'll come back in 6 months or 8 months or a year or whatever else it is, and he won't be in the title chase all the time. He'll be in it and he'll be out of it, he'll be in it and he'll be out of it, you know. He won't be forgotten about, but he'll be here, and he'll be doing things, and he'll be doing significant things, not just, oh, kind of like there sometimes or whatever. You know, even so, like, you could still say, oh, well, like, yeah, maybe he takes a week off here, or maybe he takes a week off there, whatever. But, like, you need to be like, no, this dude's still around, you know, next week or whatever, the week after, or maybe a couple of weeks later. And be like, hey, what's he doing now? Why is he doing that? What's his motivation to do it? You know, like, yeah, like, and again, like, that's always my thing, is always not just saying we're going to build these new guys, because it's great to say, oh, we're going to build these new guys, but saying, what's the story? What's the story of this new guy coming up? Why should people give a rat's, you know, about this guy coming up? It doesn't matter whether they're babyface or heel, but people need to know why they should care, because it's like, you just win matches, That's great, but why am I paying attention? You know, what are you bringing? What's your story? What are you bringing to this, division or whatever else it is? And that's the thing that keeps people hooked, because again, if somebody else comes along and has a story, it's like, oh, here come these two stories gonna clash, some, like, you always see it, like the older wrestlers who are trying to hang on and trying to remain relevant and whatever else it is, sort of thing. And yet you've got these young guys, hungry and up and coming, that haven't really gotten their opportunities yet, and things like that, and whatnot. So you've always got that mixture of, and then you've got the guys that are kind of in the middle between like young guys and the older guys that are sort of like, I don't know whether to say seasoned veterans, but like more sort of seasoned, guys that, are sort of either, basically about to break out or whatever, or guys that are breaking out or are in that picture of like main event or semi-main event sort of scene. And like that can sort of be like a little bit of a transitioning path as well, like all of those are. I think Nick Nemeth is in the path of, he's an older sort of guy who's been to the top, and still trying to prove himself, sort of thing, which is like a weird kind of mixture. But a lot of those guys that were misused in WWE, who are still talented, Mustafa Ali and a bunch of others as well, it's like they never got their chance. They never got their time to really be, the focus. And it's great to see some of that. But again, it's like, despite that, it's like, well, we can't just have this for you. We need something for somebody else and something for somebody else and da-da-da-da. Because, like, yes, it's sad to say this person never got their hurrahs or whatever else it is as well, which is, like saying, hey, we can give them that, but we can't just give them that. We need to say, okay, well, what's that serving? Why are we doing that? Like who are we going to build up from that? Or who have we got that we've, like, even if they're, again, like you say, okay, let's put Trey Miguel into that picture. Maybe he's not going to be the champion this year or next year or whatever. Maybe, I don't know. But still, you say, let's give him a short run in that space. And then, right, we'll do something else with him. Let's put him here. Let's put him there. Let's figure out what we can do with him or whoever it is. Again, anyone. Doesn't matter who it is. But Trey's been there for a long time. And you don't want to have more of that, like, we had this guy, we've had him for so long sort of thing, and yet we never really pulled the trigger, you've just given him the international title and then taken it off of him in like a couple of months, which, like, Mustafa Ali is great, but again, it's like, well, what's this serving, especially in the division where it's like, we don't really need this title. It's like, again, I said that before, where it's like Mustafa Ali should be in the main event, or somewhere near the main event, like, again, so again, maybe you should have made this like some other sort of feud or some other sort of rivalry or something, and then Mustafa Ali wins, and then you say, okay, Trey, right, we're going to move on and we're going to do something else with you, then Ali's going to get into the main event or whatever, and then, okay, we're going to see where that goes for a few months. Maybe you'll get a title shot, or maybe you'll be part of a title picture. We'll wait and see, and it's going to be harder now in some ways as well by not having these smaller pay-per-views to be like, okay, let's experiment with somebody, because now you've taken that kind of away. Yes, you can still do it on TV or whatever else it is, and I think you should do that on TV as well, but still, it does remove a little bit of that element of, like, all right, like, again, like, how you only get so many minutes or whatever else it is on TV. you know. So if you say, hey, these guys get 20 minutes, and yes, like they deserve 20 minutes or whatever else it is at least, but that's taking away something from somebody else, 20 minutes away from somebody else or something else. So again, you've got to be saying, okay, you know, what are we doing? Where are we going? And that's fine to be like, hey, there's a field of people here, you know, but really there isn't. Realistically, there isn't. Like, realistically, like I said before, it's like you haven't really built AJ up enough, and maybe you can start to do that now. But again, it's like we need more like guys that are current and whatnot to be in that scene now, you know. And then we need to say, okay, cool, now that we've kind of done something big time with them, you know, maybe we'll get them the belt maybe next year or something, or whatever, or maybe later this year or something. I don't know. Wait and see, all that. Yeah, you know, like, again, you always need to be thinking, like, ahead, but not just ahead. You need to be thinking, okay, right, well, like, this is one of our guys that is pretty over, and we could utilize that, you know. He had a match with Santana a few months ago that never really like completely like had a like payoff, you know. It didn't have like that Extreme Rules style finish. It was just, you know, and there's still story there to sort of tell, you know, like I think same with Macklin, there's still story to tell there, and to wrap that up. And I mean, you don't need to wrap it up. I'm not saying wrap these things up tomorrow. I'm saying, okay, in the next 6 months, we need to see what we're going to have. You know what I mean? And that's fine for, like, again, people, like, it sounds like maybe I'm a bit impatient or whatever, but I'm not. I'm just saying, okay, you know, again, we've got 3 months until the next, like, major show, or whatever it is, 3-4 months, whatever it is. So it's like, we've got a lot of time, so start showcasing somebody and be like, okay, this is the direction we're going in. You know, we're going to put time and effort and energy, and we're going to give this person some big wins and some big stories and a big reason to be in that picture. Especially heels right now, because again, you've got Santana there, and he, like, besides Macklin, it's like he's just about beating everybody, you know, and even then he's beating Macklin. So it's like, again, but then again, it's like, yeah, that wasn't a clear finish or whatever, but still people are interested. I think a lot of people are interested, including myself. But again, you've got to say, okay, we've got to wrap that up, you know, whatever we're going to do, you know, whether we're having Macklin win, which I don't know, maybe you should, or whether we're going to have Santana win, you know, and like if they're going to have a third match in the series, which, like, that would only make sense if, like, Macklin's gonna win the belt, I think, like, realistically. But they need to have something. They need to have a clear finish of their match and their story. So that wasn't like a clear finish. That was just like shit happened and then, okay, here we go. And again, it was kind of rushed, you know. They were too busy to move on to Eddie. And, like, again, here you have this Slammiversary happening in Boston. Okay, that's got to mean something for Eddie. What's that about? Like, again, I said before, are you going to have a triple threat? That's fine, you know, but I don't even think that makes a whole lot of sense. You know what I mean? Because it's like, here you have, again, I said this before, why did you turn Nick Nemeth babyface, or why are you trying to turn him babyface? You know what I mean? Unless, like, again, you've got that idea of saying, okay, we're going to put it on a heel, which maybe AJ Francis, that can make some sense, whatever. They've had recently had a match together, blah, 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 whatever, you know. So you could do that and then say, okay, cool, let's go from there. And then Nick Nemeth is going to call his shot and, you know, beat AJ Francis for the title, you know. But then that's a really rushed thing or whatever, again, it's like, he's going to get it when, maybe Slammiversary, and then Nemeth's going to win it by Bound for Glory, or maybe Lockdown, but then again, that's even faster, so I wouldn't even consider that. And I would say, hey, maybe Nemeth can challenge for the title, but I don't think, again, he's one of those guys that I would say, hey, he's great and he's talented, but we have to move away from him. We have to move away from guys like that. We have to say, okay, he's here and he's important, but hey, okay, cool, he gets overtaken by somebody else. We need those other guys to become like the next person, which is why, again, like, he shouldn't have the call your shot, or he should get rid of that call your shot as soon as possible. So it's like out of the way, and now we can get down to saying, or again, maybe even lose it to somebody, lose it to AJ, have AJ then cash in the call your shot. You know what I mean? And then go from there. Have Nemeth trying to fight back, and a few months later he finally gets a shot, and then but then doesn't win, because again, it's like, well, why does he need to win? Doesn't. You know what I mean? He needs to be there and to be a steady hand and to help build other people. Same with a lot of people that are there. Same with Eddie. Like, it made some amount of sense to say, hey, he's got a number one contendership. That's fine. But again, it's like, well, like, and like, if you're not going to take advantage of, you can call your shot at any time or whatever, that it's like, well, why were we doing that? You might as well have said, hey, he's got a number one contendership coming up, so yeah, you can do these things in 1,000 different ways, but right now it does feel like I don't know where we're going, because before it felt like, hey, we're probably going to do something with Nemeth and something with Eddie and maybe something with Macklin, but now it's kind of like, well, maybe we're going to still do something with Macklin, maybe, but like everyone else is just kind of like, what are we doing? So I'm waiting to kind of see, okay, where are we going? Why? How? That sort of thing. And like, that can be exciting to see, like, oh, could this person break out? Could that person break out? Could, like, trying to see, like, who do I like, who do I hate, or whatever, that I think, oh, like, maybe they'll do this, maybe they'll do that, like, that can be exciting, but like, when you feel like, hey, man, a lot of these guys haven't really gone anywhere and haven't really done anything for a long time, they've been here for quite a while, and it's like, we need to capitalize them as quickly as possible. You cannot have them like floating around for too long. You need to say, okay, how are we capitalizing on them? And that doesn't mean just they win the belt, but saying, hey, okay, cool, they need to be in that picture at least. They at least need to be in that space. They at least need to be in that space. They at least need to be, relevant in that space. And not just one off, like, oh, in September they got a shot, and then for months and months and months, we never seen them do anything again. It's like, oh, okay, great. It's not like saying they need to be in there all the time, every month, but at least like say, okay, well, what are we doing with them? Like, what's their story? Or why have these wins mattered, or why have these losses mattered, or where's that going? It's not just saying they lost, back to the drawing board, I guess, or whatever. It's like saying, okay, yes, he lost, and back to the drawing board, but here's why that mattered for that other person, or whatever. Like, even if you're doing that, it's at least like, oh, well, at least now it's like, hey, we have somebody going, oh, yeah, I beat that big guy, and all this sort of stuff, and getting something out of it, rather than just being, oh, okay, cool, I got my thing, and we move on. We kind of forget about it. So we can't forget about that sort of thing. But anyway, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. saying a lot of the same stuff here anyway. There's a lot of other videos as well. So, but yeah, it is important to keep those things in mind. But yeah, guys, as I said, that is pretty much it for this one, I think, here as well. So hope you're all going to be good, and I hope that you all will be able to join me again in another one.